Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to the Tisch WNYC Studio here in the heart of Lincoln Center, New York City, and we are pleased to welcome our partner on the radio side. She is Laura Walker, been with us before, but all new things going on. Laura Walker is the President and Chief Executive Officer of New York Public Radio. How are you doing?
Great. It is such an exciting time in audio. People are listening all the time, and there's so much exciting production and distribution going on.
There sure is. And by the way, is it true? I just heard a rumor, because we're in the broadcasting business. Your birthday?
It was yesterday.
Oh.
But I always think of it as my grandmother's birthday and my great-grandmother's birthday.
See,
I was born on their birthdays.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
The most important things going on the New York radio side. Go ahead.
We are introducing a lot of really new, exciting shows. We just introduced the New Yorker Radio Hour, and that
with
is
New Yorker.
with the New Yorker magazine with David Remnick and Ta-Nehisi Coates and Evan Osnos, and just an amazing, talented group of people.
Partnerships.
And this is part of a larger effort that we've just announced to create WNYC Studios, which is kind of a label and a way to introduce a lot of new podcasts and radio shows to the terrestrial radio kind of network all around the country, as well as new podcasts on iTunes and Spotify and Pandora. And,
Spotify.
What's that?
On what?
On Spotify, on Pandora.
I know Pandora.
Yeah.
What's Spotify?
Spotify is kind of like Pandora, but they have just recently done a podcast initiative, and we're part of that, a major partner with them on that. And
Well, so what is it? I mean, last time you were here, you were talking about a lot of things happening, but you've gone so far beyond that, and Neil Shapiro will be on in just a little bit talking about the other side of things. And I can't even call it the broadcast side or the TV side, because he'll be talking about a whole range of new initiatives, and it's about how people are getting information, isn't it?
They are getting, so the mobile phone has become kind of, what we used to think of as the transistor radio, but it is, it allows you to listen, and you watch people right outside.
Yes.
And they're all wearing headphones, and in cars, people are just putting their mobile phone in. And so it just gives a lot of new ways for people to listen to audio, and it's such an incredibly intimate kind of medium, and so I walk, before I hurt my tendons in my leg, I walk to work every day from Brooklyn to Lower Manhattan, and I would be listening to all sorts of podcasts and books on tape, and there's an explosion of interest, and my son is driving up from North Carolina today, and he emails me like, what podcast should I listen to? I'm making the playlist,
Talk about the podcast. By the way, on my way into the studio today, I was listening to Pandora, and I was listening to one particular station I like. It was the Sinatra station, because we had one of the Sinatra people coming in today, James Kaplan, who wrote a wonderful book. And you're listening to the Sinatra station, and other names come up connected to Sinatra. It's fascinating. But I ask myself, as we do this, as we specialize and decide what we want, do we fragment the audience? I mean, for you in public radio, is that part of the dilemma?
Well, we still have the platform of the radio station, and that is strong, and we curate
the traditional.
that. It's a traditional, and it's strong.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Tell everyone the
WNYC 93.9 FM, and then we have New Jersey Public Radio, which are 4 stations in New Jersey, and WNYC AM as well. Then we have WQXR on the classical music side. So radio is still very, very strong in these days, and so people are listening to radio. We curate that. We tell them the news, and then this WNYC Studios is this new division where we're creating podcasts and radio shows. We're funding it in a really innovative way. We're doing it with a $15 million kind of fund that we're raising money for right now. And we will take money out of that fund and, seed fund new projects until they become self-sustaining, and maybe even have some surplus. That surplus will go back into the fund to fund other new ones. So it will continue going on. So the New Yorker Radio Hour, Only Human is another one we just introduced, which is about health. Next year, we'll be introducing something, the Radiolab's very first spinoff, which is going to be about the Supreme Court, which will be very interesting.
All about the Supreme Court?
It'll be, yes, and in the Radiolab style of documentary, and looking at not just what's happening, but the reasons why,
Analysis,
and delving into the complexity of it.
Something you could not find in any other place other than public media.
No, I don't think so. And because it takes incredible amount of time to do the kind of reporting and the research, and we have great partners who are, funding it for us, the Hewlett Foundation, the Joyce Foundation. And that's the kind of work that only public media can do.
You know, while I keep asking you this question, and those of us on the broadcast, on the television side, again, it's not just television, but on this side, if you will, we have to keep asking it as well. Who is your audience, and is it changing dramatically?
Well, our audience is now about 18 million people around the country. So it is dramatically expanding, and it's people who are curious and also increasingly diverse from both in this city and around the country.
Socioeconomically diverse?
Yeah, I mean,
as well as geographically.
Yes, and also age-wise, because you get a swath of people who are, you know, interested and curious about issues that matter. So Brian Lehrer, you know, if there's an attack in Paris, as there was recently, you know, he can pick up the phones and say, we want to hear people who have relatives in Paris.
And people rely on Brian, and they will be there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they will go to Brian because they know what to expect.
That's right. And they know they will get fair coverage, and they will get a convening of a conversation that is very much consistent with the emotional tone of the city. So he brings the city together in a way that no one else does.
The business side of this, before I let you go, I want to ask you about this. How hard do you continue to work on the business side in terms of finding folks who are willing to put the dollars in to invest in the initiatives you're talking about? And how much harder is that than it ever was before?
Well, you know, we are very lucky on the business-wise to have a diversified kind of source of revenue. So we are able to sell sponsorships on the podcasts in a way that we haven't been on the radio, because people are really, a lot of companies are interested in reaching audiences digitally. The philanthropy is even more important, but when we do something like WNYC Studios, which a philanthropist gets a double whammy for. So they put the money in, and that money not only goes to fund, say, Supreme Court or Only Human, it also then, the surplus goes back into the fund, so their own contribution will then help to fund the next round. And that's the kind of really innovative, interesting funding models that philanthropists are interested in.
You have to get real creative. Last question. I ask a lot of people who are leaders, because I'm fascinated by leadership, the number one leadership lesson they have learned in their career. So on the spot, the number one leadership lesson you've learned so far is?
I think the number one leadership lesson is to trust your gut. I mean, I really think I have developed a sense over time to do the right thing and to lead with what is right and what is to see the possibility of what could be.
Laura Walker, our partner on the radio side, which it's way more than radio these days, President and Chief Executive Officer of New York Public Radio. Check them out. Website is?
WNYC.org and WQXR.org.
Easy enough. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be here.
All the best. Stay with us. We're at the Tisch WNET studio here in the heart of Lincoln Center. Be right back right after this. Take care of that boot. Get that off.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET Studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Virtua, MagnaCare, TD Bank, Berkeley College, New Jersey Resources, Johnson & Johnson, and by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.